Avocado bread from 73. Yes, it seems that before millennials discovered avocado on toast, their forefathers wanted to skip a few steps and just put the avocado directly in the bread. We're gonna see if they were onto something. Of course, they were onto a lot of things back then. We begin with 2 very ripe avocados. Time to open you up. Good morning. Now in goes 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So the avocado is the only source of fat in this recipe, so instead of creaming sugar into butter, we're just creaming the fruit, which is something I happen to be familiar with. Time for 3 eggs. Beat thoroughly. For the dry ingredients, we mix together 2 cups of flour with 1.5 teaspoons of floof powder. That's baking powder. Combine the 2, fold, in you go. We seem to be baking guacamole. 350 for about 45 to 50 minutes. Wow, look at how good it looks. Woo! No way. Woo! This tastes amazing. I'm so confused. Because there's no butter, there's no oil, there's no milk, just fruit. The dump cake from 68. So post-World War II saw the invention of the cake mix, but for some Americans that was still too much work. And so the dump cake was invented. Let's take a dump. Directly into an oiled baking dish goes 20 ounces of pie filling. Goodbye, cherries. Then we just dump cake mix on top. This is sacrilegious, preposterous, daft. Melt a cup of butter. Then you just dump that on too. Then you get to bake your dump. Golly gee. 375 for 50 minutes. This is for people who hate baking. And I don't like those people. We have a done dump. It's fresh. Fresh dump. It's an unenthusiastic cobbler. I mean, yeah, it's all right, but it's all wrong. If you're going to bake, bake. A cake should be an occasion, not a disfigured dump on a plate. A pound cake from 1904. Pound cake is one of my favorite things to do, but I'm single, so it's been a while. It's called such because the traditional recipe is a pound each of butter, sugar, eggs, and flour. Nothing else. We start by beating the butter. Now we slowly cream in a pound of sugar. Oh boy! Now I'm beating and creaming by hand because, as any man could tell you, that's how we all first learned. Good heavens! How many eggs? 9. We beat them in gradually. This is wild. And finally, the flour. Fold into a bunt. We bake this in a moderately slow oven for 80 to 100 minutes. Hello. I really just JFK'd this cake. Man, that's wonderful. For something that doesn't have any flavoring at all, you would not believe it. With a texture like nothing else. It's very good. But we don't talk about this. Avocado ice cream from 1947. This is fascinating because it seems chronologically wrong to find this in a 1940s cookbook, which means it must be pretty special, or that time-traveling keto athleisure influencers exist. You know, people who follow strange concepts like exercise. Into a saucepan goes a 1/2 cup of sugar, a pinch of salt, and 2 cups of milk. Moon juice! Now we scald this, so bring it to a simmer but not a boil. Fire! Into a separate bowl goes 2 eggs. Beat. While whisking, we cook the eggs by slowly pouring in the hot milk. In goes a cup of heavy cream and 2 avocados mashed. I'm going to force mine through a sieve. And finally, the juice of a lemon. Beat thoroughly. Just freeze until firm. Good morning. Am I really about to have ice cream for breakfast? It's destiny. Ooh. Whoa! Yes, that works. It's really quite nice. It is a bit icy, more of a sherbet, but it's a no churn, so I can't complain. It is a lovely, delicate taste. Liver cakes from 1947. So the liver is an organ which collects and filters all of the toxins from an animal throughout their lifetime. So why we prance about and eat it is beyond me. With that being said, I've never tried it. Until now. Into a pot of water goes a pound of calf's liver. This recipe asks for calf or mutton liver. But when I asked about mutton liver to the butcher, he just asked if I was okay. Fire! While that boils, we need a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs, flour, salt, pepper, plus dried sage, and onion. Then we drain the... What? I don't want to do this! Mince the liver. You know, I used to have a sock like this. This is disgusting. 2 eggs. Get in. Now we make patties. What do you think we fry these in? Lard. Let me get my lard bucket. Then you just... lemon large with liver and lard. There's something deviant about this. Tastes like metal. I don't like that. Clam biscuits from 1974. Now I love biscuits and I love clams, but do they belong together? Well, as my parents tried explaining to a 12-year-old me when they divorced, probably not. We begin with 2 cups of flour, 3 teaspoons of floof powder, then 2 tablespoons of shortening. Vegetable shortenings are great for when you want something like butter, but worse. Please get off the spoon. Please, sir. Mix with hands. In goes a ½ cup of moo juice, then a can of minced clams. Little strange, fam, but you do you. Yep, those are clams. Oh, it wants the juice, too. Mix. Drop these into a muffin pan. So are they biscuits or are they muffins? What are you? That's what I used to ask my sexuality in high school. Hello? Butter. I see. I'm getting a top note of cat food, like someone dropped a biscuit in a fish tank. Yeah, those taste like low tide. That is to say, New Englanders would love it. The Great Northern Nut Loaf from 49. Now, I'm not sure what makes this loaf northern, I just picked it because it has the most nuts I've ever seen, and I've seen my fair share. We start with nuts, which is unusual. In my experience, that normally comes last. We need 1 pound of mixed pecans and filberts. Filberts are hazelnuts, and they are my second favorite nut. My favorite doesn't come from a plant. Now we need to flour the nuts with 3/4 of a cup of flour. You know, I do prefer them defloured. A pinch of salt. Only a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. This is not going to rise, which is always embarrassing. Into a separate bowl goes 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. 3 eggs. Beat with a whisk. Never tried that before. Sounds painful. Finally, a ½ pound of dried figs. You know, fruit and nuts do go hand in hand. I would know. I'm both. Combine the two. It's literally just nuts. 300 for 80 minutes. Done. Whoa. It's a great taste, nice and moist, but very crunchy. If you hate nuts, I can see you spitting it out. Not me. Poor man's rice from 79. How do you make rice without rice? I say it's impossible, but our friends from the 70s disagree. We start with a 1/3 cup of water. I hate 1/3 cups. I don't have a reason and I don't need one. 3 eggs. Water and eggs. How very rice-like. Pinch of salt. 2 cups of flour. I don't know where this is going either. Probably downhill. We're looking for a breadcrumb consistency. Not me. I'm looking for why. Thought rice was the poor man's food. I would know. I have a music degree. Time for hands. More flour if needed. What? Done. I think. I don't know. Now into a very large pot goes 3 quarts of water. Stock cubes. I'm using beef. Fire! Get in! It's like the world's worst oatmeal. Cook for 12 minutes. What? I don't... What? It's not unpleasant. It tastes like overcooked pasta. It feels like oatmeal and looks terrible. It evokes nothing of rice, and I don't know why this exists. Econo meatloaf from the Great Depression. Yes, this is a depression meatloaf, which happens to be what I call myself when I'm wrapped in blankets at 2 a.m. watching Netflix covered in Pop-Tart crumbs. But anyway, we start with 6 slices of bread, preferably like my dating life. Stale. Remove the crusts. If you're over the age of 6 and you still do this, good for you. Don't let anyone tell you how to eat. Move to a bowl. Save the crusts. Add a cup of oats and a can of evaporated milk. The meat remains unseen. Perhaps it's waiting for marriage. Pepper. 2 teaspoons of salt and a teaspoon of poultry seasoning. I'm not sure if anyone told you, but beef is a cow. You know, the mooing? Time for just a pound of ground beef. Mix thoroughly. This is more grain than meat. Get it! Then we add ketchup. Press in the bread crusts. Railroad track looking Union Pacific meatloaf. And finally, more ketchup. Bake this in a moderate oven for an hour. That is unpleasant. It tastes like it's saving me money. Hard times.